Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witches Box, and I'm here today with another episode of Witch Booktube. Today we're going to be talking about two books that we sent out for the Witches Book subscription in July. Both were focusing on working with the elements, and they were Earth Power by Scott Cunningham. This is one of those classics that I'm sure a lot of you have seen, if not you already own. And the other one was Elements of Magic, edited by Jane Meredith and Parma. A lot of you will recognize Jane Meredith's name because we did two of her books last January, I believe, and she was able to join us for that Witches Book Coven gathering live in January. I'm pretty sure it was January. And she also joined us for the live gathering that we did for July. I was really, really excited about that. And so did Parma, who prefers to be called Theo. And I'll get to that in a second. What I want to do is just read you the bio for all of the editors and the author, and then I'm just going to take it book by book. Scott Cunningham was a greatly respected teacher and one of the most influential members of the modern craft movement. A practitioner of elemental magic for 20 years, he wrote more than 50 books, including the seminal Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner. It had to have been perhaps I think the second or third book that I did a review on for the Witches Booktube. I mean, early on, it was maybe December of 2018. Now we're talking almost 2 years. I can't believe we've been doing this for so long. And that was a phenomenal book, and this was the book that kind of was a precursor to that. So I'm excited to talk with you about this. This was a really, really great book. Let me read you the bios for these two editors, and then we'll get on to it. Jane Meredith is an Australian writer and ritualist. Her books include Aspecting the Goddess, Magic of the Iron Pentacle, Circle of Eight, and Journey to the Dark Goddess. Jane is a reclaiming teacher who offers workshops internationally and is one of the founders of Cloudcatcher Witch Camp. Visit her online at janemeredith.com. And then Parma is a Balinese Australian witch, author, international teacher, and spirit worker. His books include Magic of the Iron Pentacle, Ecstatic Witchcraft, By Land, Sky, and Sea, and Spirited. He is a midwife of the Wildwood tradition of witchcraft, an active teacher and mentor within reclaiming, and an Anderson Fairy initiate. Visit him online at getitparma.com. We're going to get to this book second because there's a lot to say about that book. I'm going to just read you the table of contents. There's a lot of reading here because I want you guys to have an idea of what you're getting when you invest in these books, beyond the fact that I'm telling you that you should get them definitely. Before I read the table of content, however, let me say a couple things. With the Witches Book subscription, we've covered quite a few different traditions in our readings. We've covered a couple of various different methods of ritualing, methods of magic. We've talked about and read about working with deities, not working with deities. We're moving far and wide and then coming back to dipping into deeper foundational practices. And this book selection was part of that. Regardless of your tradition, regardless of interest in working with deities or not, being an atheist witch or not being an atheist witch, regardless of your lineage, let's say, there is something really powerful and really fundamental about learning how to interact with and taste the flavors of different elements to work with those energetic streams. We've been talking in various ways and in various aspects of the Witches Box about energetic streams and really learning how to hone your sense so that you can define which energetic streams are which and how to work with each different one as it comes to you or as you sense them, right? And the most basic, foundational energetic streams that we have are the elemental ones. And so it sounds almost a little too 101, a little too basic, but both of these books provide quite a lot of in-depth work to help hone your capacity for understanding, and I say tasting, but sensing, tasting, vibing different energetic streams that represent different elements. This is, I think, at the core of a skill, your skill as a witch, because understanding and being able to identify and interact with specific energetic streams or energetic signatures is really at the core of our work in terms of our skills in ritual, our skills with spells, our skills with jumping the hedge, working in between the veils, working with spirits, working with our ancestors. we need to create situations for ourselves where we're practicing that muscle of sensing different energetic streams. The elements are probably the very best place to start because they are always there. They're very concrete in a lot of ways. Concrete is probably not the right word, but they're very tangible, even though they're etheric. And so going back to this particular topic for the reading and in the Witch's Box and here even on Witch Booktube, for me felt very important because we will circle wide and then come back. We have to always keep coming back to the core, to the foundational, and deepening that and strengthening our capacity for those skills. And so for me, this is what this choice was. This particular book, Techniques in Natural Magic or Earth Power, is by some lauded as very elementary, but I don't think so. I think that there's something really beautiful about providing all of us with particular or specific exercises to hone our senses, as well as then doing ritual applicable work with each of those energies once we are aware of and able to interact with them and tap into them. So this book, I mean, and also I think that there should not really be any witch out there who has not read at least one Scott Cunningham book. And when he speaks about the elements, there is this beautiful intimacy that seems to underline everything he says. And I have yet, honestly, to find the right words to describe what it feels like, because I do feel like he had such a deep, reverent love for the elements, for nature. But at the same time, I also feel a beautiful tenderness, and it was like it was a love affair. Reading him is always a really beautiful experience, and it feels very grounding for me. It seems to hold a thread of peace. So when I'm reading his work, I tend to kind of come in a little deeper. It really is beautiful. Let me read to you really quickly what's in this book in terms of the table of contents so you have an idea of what's in the book. Part 1 is the basics, touching the earth, magic spelled out. So he defines what magic is from his perspective, different techniques and the elements of magic. Part 2 is on elemental magic itself, and it covers earth magic, air magic, fire magic, water magic. And then he goes into natural magic as part 3 of this book, which is also, it's a beautiful, like, a spiraling out. So once you have those 4 foundational elements not down, but in a firm grasp, then you can go into stone magic. You can go into tree magic, image magic, knot magic, candle magic, wax magic, mirror magic, rain, fog, and storm magic, and sea magic. It's an easy read in that his writing is really lovely. It just flows effortlessly. The exercises are all incredibly accessible and easy to do, but also pack a punch when you create and commit to them as a practice and do them over and over again. Honestly, beautiful. Every witch should have this book and read it. I really, truly, because no matter what tradition you're coming from, you will learn some deeper foundational truths from this book and practices that I think will serve you for the whole of your life. I really love it. So there you go. There's that. And then the other one is Elements of Magic, Reclaiming Earth, Air, Fire, Water, and Spirit. This is a really yummy, beautiful cover. It's been edited. It's an anthology. It's a pretty in-depth book, but what I want to say before I go into it, oh, funny, I left this as a bookmark in there. So just as an aside, whenever you subscribe to the Witch's Book subscription, every time you get 2 books in the mail each month, we also give you a little "This Book Belongs To" or "The Witch's Book Belongs To" sticker so that you can put it on the inside of your book. But I have this one that I've not stuck in a book because I use it as a bookmark, even though we have our own bookmarks. So you know how that is. I've got bookmarks in every one of my books. Here's what I love. I love a lot of things about this book. This book is incredibly rich. The rituals are incredibly transformative. All of these practices are written by practitioners in the reclaiming practitioners and or teachers in the reclaiming tradition. And we've touched on the reclaiming tradition in the past because we read 2 others of Jane Meredith's books back in January. And I have not gone back and read any of Starhawk's books to review them for you, but I will because it should be done. But Starhawk is one of the founding members of the reclaiming tradition. The reclaiming tradition is worldwide. Number 1, there are practitioners worldwide. It's one of our modern witchcraft traditions. I think it began like in the very, very late 70s. In the book, in the introduction by Starhawk, there is a history to that. So you get the history of the reclaiming tradition so that you get the tenets, the main core values of the reclaiming tradition, and it creates a context for the work in each of the elements that you get presented throughout the rest of the book. Each chapter is written by a different teacher in reclaiming, although some of them write several sections of the book. For each element, you have several different thematic writings about the element by a teacher. There's at least 6 to 7, if not more, meditation practices and rituals for each of the elements to take the work with that element deeper. This is what I love, because these rituals and these spells are very internally transformative. Reclaiming is a tradition that puts a lot of emphasis in self-assessment, responsibility, and awareness. And you know, that's what we're about here at the Witches Box. So these are hefty, not hefty in the sense that they're complicated rituals. They're not complicated, but they pack a punch. They are intended to do deep work, and you're doing it through the lens of each of those elements for yourself and your personal transformation and empowerment. This book is definitely one of those things that if you are interested in working solely with elements or deeper with elements, this is a book to have, because you're going to have a lot to work with for quite a long time for each of the elements that are presented here. And you're getting the opportunity to read from many really well-informed, very wise voices in this tradition and in witchcraft in general. Then we had both of them join us for the live online Witches Book Coven gathering, and it was wonderful to be able to have them again, or have Jane again, and then have Theo for the first time. I always love those because it's not just an opportunity for those of us in the book coven to talk about whatever we read, but it's also an opportunity to hang out with the writers or the authors or the editors. And, you know, I always love that because I'm such a book writing fangirl. But it's a great opportunity to not only learn about what they're doing next, but where they've come from, what their journey is. It's more than the bio, right? So it's always a beautiful thing to be able to get to hear from the actual creators of the books that we're reading. I love that part. There are so many things I always say. I catch myself when I watch these videos back every once in a while. I'll like watch one and I'll be like, oh, I say that about everything. But I do. I tend to say things like, this is my most favorite part about the Witches Box. But really, there's probably a very long list, because the books are a favorite part. The lives with authors are a favorite part. Getting to connect with you. Like, there are quite a few of you now that I have like a, not necessarily, I don't know you, although there are a couple of you that I know personally now, which is exciting. But there are more of you that I don't know personally, but that I'm kind of connecting with more and more because of the live gatherings. And I love that. I just love that over time we're weaving the web that I had really envisioned and intended originally for what this business was going to be, much more so than a business, more even than a community. We are weaving a web across the planet together with one another to empower one another. And the books and the box and the rituals and the live gatherings and the forums and all the different ways that we tend to connect, I think, continue to nourish that web. And I'm really just so deeply grateful, and just also incredibly touched when I hear from all of you and how it's affecting your life and how you are learning. Thank you so much. I really do. So these were the 2 books that I'm reviewing today, that I just reviewed. Yeah, these are 5-star level books. This is what I would say to you. Buy them. The links to this will be down below. These went out in July. I think that at the time of this recording, I don't want to totally mislead you. I feel like there's maybe 5 of these left to buy directly from us. When you buy the books directly from us, you also get sent the link to the recording of the live that we did together, so that you have the opportunity to also watch the video and see what the grand meeting was about, and also hear and listen to the writers in that gathering, which is always a special treat. And I think that's it. If you've read these, I'd love to hear about it. Are there any of you out there who are in the reclaiming tradition that watch us and participate in the Witches Box? I'd love to hear from you as well. I am not of the reclaiming tradition. I have many moons ago, I had an opportunity to circle and participate in a ritual that Starhawk led. I think they were actually a couple, and then she was a visiting facilitator at a group that I was at. And it's the kind of tradition that, at this point, I'm pretty locked into my path, but I can see myself at one point circling back around to reclaiming, because there's just so much emphasis on the elements, on the planet Earth, on activism. And this book came out of a specific class in their curriculum where it gets taught over and over again all over the world by different teachers, allowing space for those teachers who come in to teach this class to also bring and weave through it their own expertise. It's a living tradition. It seems and it feels, and from what I've read and from what I've heard, it grows and it grows and it grows as each new teacher gets woven into the fabric of the entire tradition. I just feel like it's really a thorough tradition where if you were needing a place to go, you would be taken in and taught a lot. There's a lot of opportunity for learning. There are witch camps all over the planet from reclaiming. There's just a lot of opportunity. Unfortunately, right now, I don't know that anyone's really going into camps to camp together, which is interesting. I don't think that question was asked in the live gathering, and it's something that I'd like to explore, and I'll ask and maybe bring back information to the forum about. I'm not quite sure if they're going to be doing online digital witch camp. In any case, Reclaiming Tradition is definitely something to check out. This book comes from their teachings, but it is accessible for everyone. Don't feel like that's something that would exclude you. It does not. So there you go. And here's the other one. Both are 5 stars. Both are yes, yes, yes. Get them, get them, get them. And if you've read them, if you're reading them now, let me know what you think below. If you're part of the Reclaiming Tradition, I would love to hear from you as well, because it'd be cool to know who is out there that is part of that and is also part of what we do here. And other than that, I will see you throughout social media, on the website, next week on the other Booktube review that's coming out. I send you a lot of love. Take care of yourself. Bye.